Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Purple Couch Podcast. So as you can tell, we're doing something a little bit different today. You have Manny and I sitting on the purple couch. We have Pam and Loki on the outside chairs. So today's episode, we're going to talk about diagnosis is not a death sentence. So with that, we have our two experts here. We have Pam and Loki. So today, it will be Manny and I interviewing Pam and Loki. So we hope that we'll hit some of the questions you guys have at home and hopefully give you some helpful tips and tricks. So join us.
Welcome to Pam and the Purple Couch Podcast, hosted by Pamela Furr, with our co-hosts, Dr. Manny Rodriguez, Missy Owen, and Loki DePristo. Together, we're going to dive deep into topics such as education, neurodiversity, autism, and applied behavioral analysis. Remember to click subscribe today so you don't miss out on any future episodes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So today's episode, we're going to talk about diagnosis is not a death sentence. With today's episode, it'll be myself and Manny interviewing Pam and Loki.
It's kind of different sitting in this chair.
Yeah, I know. It's being used to the
I wasn't
couch
kidding.
setup.
Before the show started, I think I found my new permanent place. This is so cozy.
It really is.
So I'm just hoping to touch the floor.
Yeah, right.
Maybe when I become
I
a
think I
big
like the
girl.
platform. Platform shoes.
If anybody wanted
Then
to know exactly how short you were,
There you go.
That's how we left it.
Ta-da.
That's where we're at.
Okay, now switch the camera to me.
Exactly. Fully
There you
feet
go.
planted.
Hi.
how tall Mr. Loki is.
I know.
And it's like we're at 5 foot and we're at almost 6'2". So when he started putting his head
Jeez.
on top of my head, that was, I don't know, Loki, what were you in the 9th grade? Are you focusing on the camera? He's looking at
He
the
knows-
dude
he knows
that-
the
Okay, now you can return back to the center camera. I'm sorry. I wanted to emphasize how my feet touch the ground and yours does not.
Yes,
Oh.
there you go.
I'm
Oh, that's
sorry.
a
I
drone in
just I
there.
thought it was a funny flex anyways, so I'm sorry.
So yeah, no, I think it was 9th grade. He at that point, by 9th grade, he could come and just put his chin on the top of my head. And I was like, okay, yeah. That's again West
Yeah.
Virginia mom coming out of me. I'm like, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out of this world.
Exactly. Gusto.
But it was great. It was great. I'm proud of you. I see you. I'm proud of you. So hi guys, how can
That's
we help
good.
you today?
All right.
Hi friends and family.
So I did have a question I wanted to ask you. So I remember one time at our ABA state conference, there was, I don't remember where or his name, but a senator that was from out of state who came. He was a keynote speaker. Not sure if you were at this one, probably about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And his kiddo was on the spectrum. And so he was talking about the advocacy and whatnot he was doing. And he said one phrase that I always think about that has stuck with me.
Okay.
So he said, so I just want to get your opinion, what you thought about it. So he said it was when he found out his child's diagnosis, it was basically taking, these are the expectations I have for my kid. This is what my kid's going to do in life. That you had to basically throw that out and get a new set of expectations.
Absolutely not.
Okay. I figure that's what
Absolutely
you would say.
Absolutely not. So I can remember clearly we knew something was going on.
Mhm.
Every doctor, we started seeing signs right after his birthday. And that was in August of 2006. So it was his
Mhm.
1-year birthday. August 2006, we had camera, the VHS big camcorders then,
Mhm.
and he was smiling and he was doing his little waddle because he was a chunky little baby, these big cheeks.
Oh.
So love you, boo. You still got them little cheeks.
I do?
The dimples that kill those teachers. Yes, because I actually had his first grade teacher. He was like, oh, look how cute he is. I said, don't let the dimples do it. No. And it goes into what you were just saying,
Mhm.
is that when we finally got the diagnosis, already knowing there were delays, we could see because his speech completely.
Mhm.
Loki was one of the children that in that time frame. So 2000, I want to say 6 to 2008, there were a lot of children. It wasn't just Loki. Probably about 40% of the parents that I've talked to in the last, 18 years,
Yeah.
they had speech, they had eye contact, completely developing as, the Dr. Spock schedule would say.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's almost like somebody traded kids. It's like, okay, well, where'd my son go?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the staring at the ceilings and no communication. And when I say no communication, I was a first-time mom, so you don't really think anything about that. But
Mhm.
he didn't scream or cry. It was literally Loki would, but But no, he was always
Wow.
very content. He would have his little saucer that had all the light up, the music instruments because
The Mickey Mouse room.
oh, well, we did that. So Loki was into Mickey Mouse Clubhouse,
Yeah.
so everything was jamming with music and the primary colors. And so Loki's biological father was an artist, musician, and paint artist, like from the Corcoran Institute. So very well trained artist. And so we drew the Mouse Cthulhu machine
Oh, cool.
on the wall. Now, the reason we did that, though, was because Loki, before he was even one, was out of his crib because he was so long. So when he would sleep, he would turn 360 degrees. Well, he kept hitting his head on the crib. And so we were like, okay, so we put the mattress. This is what the doctor told us to do. Put the mattress on the floor. He's so long. So he was 27 inches when he was born. So you think about that. So his little tiny guy is trying to scoot around in the crib and he's knocking himself in the head. And not knocking himself, but, as a parent. So we put his mattress on the floor. Well, by the time Luke was 2, he was sleeping in a full-size bed. On the floor, but in a full-size bed on the floor. So
I do remember the nightlight that we had in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we turned it. It was a complete Mouse Cthulhu machine. So his bed, his room, everything was the Mouse Cthulhu machine.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So we had all of these little, just typically growing up. I mean, it's our first kid. This is amazing. Oh my goodness, everything, first grandchild, first great grandchild. So spoiled rotten, okay? But then vaccines came. And I'm going to be the first one because we did do a lot of testing. And that happened. I was a month late and I felt like the horrible mom. Like, oh my gosh, I was a month behind getting the shots. And so instead of getting them in August, we got them in September. Well, it's very important and everything happens for a reason. Because come November, by the time Thanksgiving was there, all of Loki's communication, his eye contact, his mom, up, ba'o, down, all of those little tiny, new language building skills coming to the surface all disappeared. And that's when he cocooned and he went internally. So we went and searched. We got on the wait list. We went to the pediatric doctor. It wasn't until Christmas Eve he spiked a huge high fever. When we got high fever,
Yeah.
and we took him to urgent care center. Urgent care center said, oh, it's a double ear infection. And we're like, oh my goodness. Okay. We got back and I'm like, Aaron, just the stuff isn't making sense. Like my perfectly healthy baby, never sick, nothing. Now he's not talking. He's not making eye contact. We're not even getting babble. No, like the no, none of that was going on. And it was just Loki being Loki, but with nothing there. Now I could tell him, okay, go clean up your toys. And he'd go clean his toys up. So he had this receptive language, but no expressive language. And I'm like, all right, what's going on? And the doctor's, oh, no, because he wasn't pulling my hair. He wasn't poking eyes out. He wasn't doing any of these aggressive
Not being
behaviors.
disruptive.
Yes.
Falls through the cracks.
So when we finally got the diagnosis, which took then another 9 to almost a year, it was
Even back then.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Oh, my goodness. I had to go from West Virginia to Columbia, Maryland, to find a developmental pediatrician because the pediatricians weren't trained. They still were in the mindset that if it was autism, it was Rain Man. And I'm like, well, that's not my kid, but there's something. Well, just be happy. At least you don't have any behaviors. Missy, you would be surprised, even parents today. When I do parent interviews and I'm talking to parents, we get the same thing.
I feel like a doctor saying at least blank feels very, very.
Oh, well, your mom.
Yeah.
So that's inspired me. When you ask about the gentleman that just told you, you heard a professor saying, oh, well, we had to take all of these expectations and just put them to the side. No.
At least your child isn't dead,
Yeah, okay, be glad.
Yeah.
So no, it angered me. And anger is simply hurt on the outside. So I'm like, wait a second. I was raised that you trusted your doctor. You did what the doctor said. I took every shot, I was yoga baby mama. I drank all the orange juice I could. I mean, all these things. And it was like, well, wait, I did what I was supposed to do. So why did this happen? What happened to trigger him? What caused this to happen? That's what question Mom was asking.
Okay, what caused what to happen exactly?
Your autism.
My
Yeah,
mean, they
but we
still
didn't even
can't tell
have the
us for
nerve
sure.
with the name of it at that time,
And some doctors were speculating. They were guessing
Yes.
back then,
So when we finally did get the diagnosis, I had already done the self-diagnosing by going to Dr. Google. So you could find, does your child do X, Y, Z? And, on this wonderful scale of 1 to 15, how many of these items does your child do?
Does your, it's like a whole checklist of, does your child do this autistic thing?
Yes.
Then it is autistic.
No,
that's crazy.
Yes, but we didn't have any other information.
Yeah,
Even
but
the
like
pediatricians weren't trained.
But like there was this weird, I know you're probably getting to this, but you've told this multiple times as well. There's this weird sort of like social geist around autism during that time by saying, your son is not really the same if it has autism because it can't learn the same way. In that case, it's like, sure, it can't learn the same way, but that doesn't mean it stopped learning.
Yeah.
From the story that you've told me, the autism is just simply a different way of learning that people simply haven't figured out yet. And now I'm just starting just to go on now because, sorry, I'm taking the talking stick for this, like 2 minutes? But I think that autism, again, isn't necessarily a bad thing anymore. It's just a different thing.
Yes.
It's sort of like how how people sort of express themselves. People are afraid of new things happening. And this is not just a social change, just like how people are expressing their genders. This is a natural change. This is a change caused by nature. This is something that's just sort of happening now between us. There are now sort of, I think the autistic number has increased since I was born.
When you were diagnosed, it was 1 in 185 children.
Yeah.
We are at 1 in 36 current.
So what? It's not like every single person is going to be autistic now.
Right.
There's still going to be normal people and there's still going to be autistic people. But that doesn't mean we need to be, at this point, possibly just racist towards, is it racist?
Well, yes, because
Prejudice
you are
or whatever,
false,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
You're discriminating against...
Sorry, I forgot the word about discrimination. I'll say that now. We're discriminating against autistic people just by saying, you gotta go to a special needs school just for autistic people. And this isn't even like a classifying sort of thing. Like you said before in past episodes, normal teachers can't teach autistic people. So it's not this... Okay, hold on. Catching my breath here.
Good job.
But the discrimination between autistic people and people with ADHD, and we haven't even talked about people with ADHD and how that's like a different sort of thing, but the discrimination between those people and people that want to go to normal schools and the people that want to go to go to special schools, there shouldn't be a reason to hate just because they're different.
Oh. Yes, indeed, babes. There's so much wisdom in that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That was great.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm now probably not going to have anything else to say for the rest of the podcast.
Oh no, I doubt that very much because I'm going to ask a question, but I want to hear both perspectives: a parent perspective from Pam, and then your perspective. Because when we think about, so the title of this, right, diagnosis is not a death sentence, but you hit on something I was thinking of. It's not just autism we're talking about; it's any diagnosis really. Learning disabilities, developmental disabilities, ADD, ADHD, whatever the alphabet soup of.
We can go even further. It can be medical diagnoses.
Yeah.
Disabled people.
Yes.
Parkinson's,
Parkinson's,
whatever. Yeah,
MR,
exactly.
Multiple dystrophy. You got all of these lupus. There are all of these traumatic.
Yeah.
Because it's traumatic when a child that you have these expectations, like the doctor you were speaking of, especially we're looking at it's 1 in 4 boys is more prevalent than it is in females. So we have males that are coming with the father's hope and dreams and they get devastated. The parents do. For me, it fired me up because I was like, you're not putting a limitation on my child. I know how smart he is. If he can answer me from across the room without words and can listen, then he can learn.
Right.
And who are you then to tell me what, again, putting him on these limits just because you see this child at 2? And I think that's what fired me up. That's why even hearing you ask and you're like, oh, then his statement stuck in all these years. And I'm assuming that's at least 8 years because I know how long you've been with me. So you're talking about a statement that made such an impact on you from at least almost a decade. And here I am fired up again by it because I'm like, no. Because I want to find that professor that doctor gave that professor the diagnosis.
Senator.
Oh, even more so.
Yeah, he's on a global map. He's on a stage.
See, now you've got this doctor that gave this senator who is, again, a political representative that's an educated person. No hope.
Yeah.
And that actually ties to the question I have for both of you. And before I do that, though, this episode, I think out of many episodes we've already filmed, I think this touches on something that every family, every parent, every child we face in our profession is hit with this, is hit with getting through these stages. So this is a great opportunity. If you like what you're hearing, and stay tuned because I'm going to ask this next question, probably get us all the way to the wrap up. Like it, subscribe it, share it. This is the way we're going to spread the word of what we're talking about. But here's my question. I think this will bring us all the way to the end. But from a parent perspective and from your perspective, Loki, when you think about the diagnosis and getting through those stages, to me, it's not just the first part, like the early age. It's the ages upon ages as they grow up. So here we have a great example of a mom who's gone through this with her child, who's now 19 years old, graduated with his AA, but she just shared with us a few moments ago the first instance of the diagnosis, he was nonverbal.
Yeah.
So to me, and as a dad of 5, and Missy with her child, you think about stages of a child, and there's different challenges, different aha moments, different things the hurdles, right? And I'll preface this question with thinking about a couple of parents in particular here in our high school who still come to us after all these years with their high school kid, like, what do I do with my kid who's not where I thought they'd be at this point, And so that's kind of where I wanted to go with this, is if you think about that as the premise of the question, what do I do? My kid's not where I thought they'd be at this point. And that point could be 2, 3, 4 years old, 7, 8.
I'm with you.
16.
Well,
and I would love to hear
I'm going to take
thoughts.
an ABA kind of approach.
Okay.
So where are you pulling your baseline? Okay. And I'm going to answer you like I would. Where's the data?
Yeah.
I do get to talk to parents, whether it's in passing or they've seen my face now and it's at a grocery store, or I can tell you at my female doctor visit that my doctor has a child that is neurodivergent. And so it was, well, can I ask you a question? And I'm like, well, okay. But I think that is key. Is that parents that are walking the walk are there to share their story and inspire.
Yeah.
Now, to your specific question, we've talked about this on a past episode. It's, well, what is typical for your child? Okay, Loki is going to develop completely different than any other child.
I think. I'm sorry.
Give me just 1 second.
I'm sorry. I wanted to cooperate with you, but I realized more
this
so
one
a
is
different
important,
take.
Loki, because your autism, I think, made me a better mom. Okay. And I'll explain, because like we see the other parents that have had other children and, oh, well, Johnny's supposed to be here. Susie's supposed to be here. And you're gauging that based on your other children and how they progressed and how they learned or how they developed.
Yeah, or even their own history, like their doctors or their surgeons or whatever. Yeah, their own.
Okay. But we have proven already that every child develops at their own pace. So I walked into an environment of someone saying, hey, your child has autism. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, he's going to learn a little differently. He's going to have some struggles that other children may not have. Okay, well, I can tell you that there are kids that don't have autism that are struggling a lot worse than what Loki did because they don't have food every day. They don't have a shelter over top of their head. So what makes his struggle any different than theirs? That is what I would tell parents. Every child is different. And that doctor, and I'm going to tell you, if you've heard me in this episode, one of the biggest things is I cannot stand when diagnosing physicians tell parents something's wrong with their child. Because you already are setting the mental picture. You're already setting limitations. And there should never be a limitation. When your child is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, some of our biggest actors didn't start their careers until they're 40 years old. Harrison Ford, everyone out here that loves Star Wars. Well, guys, you wouldn't even had Star Wars if you had met the carpenter when he was in his 20s. No, Han Solo didn't come out until he was after 40. So now think about that. If somebody put that limitation on him, and now Star Wars is known worldwide. It is
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I mean, these things that happen later on in life would never happen if you didn't give yourself that opportunity. Yeah. Or if you said, hey, I'm so sorry, your child's going to be autistic, and there you go. Be happy with it. Find a home for your kid. No, I didn't treat Loki like he was disabled.
Yeah.
Never. And sometimes I was hard on him. And you're going to get me emotional on that. I was, because I knew the world wasn't going to be nice.
I think also, this is a good transitioning point towards my POV. I think you being hard on me also made me a better person, because it knew that I can't really get away with everything. And I wasn't even trying to use my disability, even at an older age now, as a leg to stand on. I knew that I was still, I think what I was going to say, if I was going first towards Manny's whole question, is that even if we're so different in so many different ways, we still have the ability to learn.
Yes.
Whether we be deaf, we be blind, we be mute, we be autistic, we be on the spectrum, we be having no legs, we be having no arms. We still have the ability to learn due to the fact of memory. If we have our mind, we can learn anything that we want to, but it's our choice that we keep it in our brain.
Yes.
It's through the communication of who teaches and who gives us that information, and what we do with that information to hold it long term. We can, hold on, I'm trying to think of a way to say this. Again, I think learning itself as just a concept anybody can do is just something that you should keep note of towards any diagnosis.
Absolutely.
It's not a death sentence if your child can still learn.
Exactly.
I think that's what's most important.
I think that, and that's what we did. It might have taken Loki 5 tries. But
I still learned.
Yeah. And it might not have been in the exact same manner. He may not, I can tell you.
But I still learn.
Even now, he hates handwriting. But he's got one of the best signature lines ever, because he practiced it and practiced it and practiced it.
And I enjoyed it. I had fun with it.
Yes.
Ooh.
And so those are the things. So to parents, when you get a diagnosis, and it doesn't, I don't know which camera y'all want me to look at. When you get the diagnosis, that's it. And you got a diagnosis. Okay.
The doctor, if the doctor doesn't say, listen, if the doctor doesn't say they're dead or their mind is just gone, if their brain is gone from their body, then that's a problem. But if they still have their mind and their mind is intact, they can still learn.
Yes.
I think that's what's most important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to talk in some future episodes about some of the quantum work that Loki and I are part of. Well, you all as well. We made it a company thing because we got to see the shift. And that comes into meditation. And I really think it triggers on what Loki was just saying there. As long as you have the brain, then you can learn. You may have to learn in a different manner. You may have to learn in a different pattern. I just watched a video of a paraplegic that only had 3 muscles in his entire body. 3 muscles that were functioning. And they were able to hook up drone controllers, an XY axis platform using the cheek muscles. And so I watched a TED Talk with this gentleman that was controlling through his XY, through the cheek. So Loki's dead straight on and honest in what he says, is that it may not be the way that you learned. It may not be the easy way for that teacher to teach you.
It may not be tradition.
No.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it can't happen. And so it only cannot happen if you as parents put limitations on the child.
Mm-hmm.
We're supernatural beings, and this human body that we have has got amazing technology. We just need to learn how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think you will be doing the outro.
Yeah, I think this is a good way.
This is a
yeah.
great outro. You want to do the outro? Or Loki, would you like to do the outro?
Okay. This has been Manny and the Purple Couch podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe. I don't know if there's a commenting feature, but make sure to check out our email.
Yes, and that is info@PamelaFurr.com.
I wouldn't have remembered anyways. Thank you.
I was
So-
planning on it too.
I'll jump in here since I'm a little more versed at this,
Okay.
guys.
Yes, you got it down.
I thank you all for being in. This has been an emotionally inspired episode. And I apologize for all those diagnosing physicians out there. But my truth is my truth, and that's all I have. My inspiration for parents is that you don't put limitations on your children, and we make the best of every single moment. And until next time, from our family to yours, we'll see you on the Purple Couch Podcast.